Dr. Olivia Blackwood stared at the pulsing signal on her monitor, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. The reading defied everything she knew about deep space transmissions. After 15 years at the Meridian Space Observatory, she had never seen anything like it. "Run the analysis again," she told her system, fingers drumming against the desk. The quantum computers hummed in response, processing terabytes of data collected over the past 72 hours. The signal remained constant, unchanging in its bizarre pattern. The observatory's night shift was typically quiet, but tonight felt different. Through the facility's massive windows, the stars seemed to shine with an unusual intensity, as if they too sensed something approaching. Her tablet chimed with an incoming call. "Dr. Blackwood, you need to see this." The voice belonged to her colleague, Dr. Raj Patel. His usual calm demeanor had given way to barely contained excitement. "The signal, it's changing." Olivia rushed to the main observatory deck, her footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. Raj stood before the primary display, his dark eyes fixed on the scrolling data. "Look at these energy signatures," he said, pointing to a series of fluctuating graphs. "They're organized, structured. This isn't random cosmic noise. Someone's out there," Olivia whispered, the reality of the situation hitting her. "Someone's trying to communicate." The signal had first appeared 3 days ago, a faint whisper among the usual background radiation of space. Now it was growing stronger, more focused, and it was aimed directly at Earth. Within hours, observatories around the world began reporting the same phenomenon. The Global Defense Initiative, led by General Thomas Harrison, called an emergency meeting of the world's leading scientists and military strategists. "Ladies and gentlemen," Harrison addressed the hastily assembled group, his weathered face grave. "We're dealing with a potential first contact scenario. I need answers, and I need them fast." Olivia presented her findings, explaining how the signal's complexity suggested an advanced civilization. "Whatever this is, it's beyond our current technological understanding. The energy required to transmit across such vast distances. Could it be a threat?" Lieutenant Kira Valentinov interrupted, her cybernetic eye scanning the data projections. As the GDI's leading weapons specialist, she always considered the tactical implications first. "Unknown," Olivia replied honestly. "But they want us to know they're coming." The signal continued to strengthen over the next week. Then, on a cold Tuesday morning, everything changed. Olivia was reviewing the latest data when every monitor in the observatory suddenly went dark. When they flickered back to life, the images they showed made her blood run cold. A massive object had appeared at the edge of the solar system. No, not one object. Hundreds. A fleet of ships, each larger than anything humanity had ever constructed, emerged from what appeared to be tears in space itself. "My God," Raj breathed, standing beside her. "They're here." The ships were unlike anything from science fiction or human imagination. Their surfaces seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, covered in symbols that hurt the eyes to look at directly. They moved with impossible grace, defying known physics as they accelerated toward Earth. General Harrison ordered all military forces to high alert, but everyone knew Earth's defenses would be useless against such advanced technology. Humanity had barely mastered interplanetary travel, and now they faced a civilization capable of crossing galaxies. The first message arrived 24 hours later, transmitted simultaneously to every electronic device on Earth. The language was alien, but somehow everyone understood. "We are the Archean Empire. Your world has been chosen. Resistance is unnecessary." As Olivia studied the message, she noticed something in the transmission's underlying code, a pattern that shouldn't have been possible. It was subtle, almost hidden, but it suggested a weakness, a flaw in their seemingly perfect technology. She caught Raj's eye across the room and saw the same realization dawning on his face. The Archean Empire might be advanced, but they weren't infallible. And sometimes, the smallest flaw could bring down the mightiest empire. The question was, Could they find a way to exploit it before it was too late? The Archon ships hung in the sky like dark stars, their metallic surfaces reflecting distorted images of Earth below. General Thomas Harrison stood at the Pentagon's command center, watching as every defense system humanity possessed went dark. It started with satellites. One by one, the global network of military and civilian satellites stopped responding. Then radar installations worldwide reported complete failure. In less than an hour, Earth had been rendered blind. "Status report," Harrison barked, his composed exterior masking growing concern. The command center buzzed with frantic activity as officers tried to salvage what remained of their defense capabilities. Lieutenant Kira Valentinov's cybernetic eye flickered as she processed the incoming data. "Sir, we've lost 87% of our orbital defense grid. The remaining systems are operating at minimal capacity. Whatever they're using, it's like nothing we've ever seen." The Archon Empire hadn't fired a single shot, yet they'd effectively neutralized Earth's military capability. Their technology operated on principles that seemed to defy the laws of physics themselves. Across the globe, similar scenes played out in military installations. Planes couldn't take off, missiles wouldn't launch, and even basic communication systems were failing. The message was clear. Resistance wasn't just futile, it was impossible. "Get me Dr. Blackwood," Harrison ordered. If anyone could make sense of this technological nightmare, it would be her. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Olivia's face, tired but determined. "General, we've made some progress understanding their technology," she reported. "Dr. Patel and I have been analyzing the energy signatures from their ships. There's something odd about how they're interfering with our systems." Before she could elaborate, a new message from the Archon Empire broadcasted across all remaining functional devices. "Your defensive measures have been neutralized. We will begin integration of your world into the Empire. Prepare for preliminary occupation." Harrison's jaw tightened. "Dr. Blackwood, whatever you and Dr. Patel have found, we need it now. They're not just disabling our weapons, they're preparing for invasion." The next few hours were chaos. Reports came in from around the world of strange structures appearing in major cities, materializing from thin air. The Archon Empire was establishing footholds on Earth without firing a single shot. In the Meridian Observatory, Olivia and Raj worked tirelessly to understand the alien technology. Their breakthrough came from an unexpected source, the very interference pattern that had disabled Earth's defenses. "Look at this," Raj pointed to a complex wave pattern on his screen. "Their technology operates on quantum principles, but there's a fundamental instability in how they're generating these fields. It's like they're sacrificing stability for power." Olivia leaned closer, her eyes widening. "They're not just disabling our technology. They're replacing the quantum states of our systems with their own. But that kind of manipulation requires incredible precision. One miscalculation could cascade through their entire network," Raj finished. "It's both their greatest strength and potentially their greatest weakness." Meanwhile, the first Archon ground forces had begun to appear. They weren't organic beings, but rather constructs of the same flowing metal as their ships, each one a perfect fusion of technology and artificial intelligence. Lieutenant Valentinov led a reconnaissance team to observe one of the alien structures in Washington, D.C. Her cybernetic systems, surprisingly, remained partially functional despite the widespread technological disruption. "The structures appear to be self-replicating," she reported back to Harrison. "They're not just buildings, they're growing, adapting to our environment, and they're starting to interface with our existing infrastructure." Harrison knew they were running out of time. Earth's remaining military forces were consolidating, preparing for what might be humanity's last stand. But conventional warfare would be useless against an enemy this advanced. Their hope lay in the research being conducted by Olivia and Raj. If they could find a way to exploit the quantum instability in the Archon technology, they might have a chance. But they would need time they didn't have. As night fell over a changed Earth, Harrison made a decision. They would appear to cooperate with the initial occupation, buying precious hours for their scientists to work. It was a dangerous gamble, but they had no choice. The Archean Empire believed they had won without a fight. They didn't realize that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or technology, but in its ability to adapt, to find ways to survive against impossible odds. And in the labs of the Meridian Observatory, the first seeds of resistance were being planted. Colonel Diana Reeves moved silently through the underground tunnels beneath what remained of Seattle. The network of maintenance shafts and old subway lines had become humanity's greatest asset, one of the few places the Archean Empire couldn't easily monitor. Status report. She whispered into her quantum-encrypted communicator, a piece of hybrid technology that combined Earth engineering with salvaged Archean components. Dr. Blackwood's voice came through, distorted but clear enough. "We've made a breakthrough," Olivia replied. "The quantum instability we discovered, it's not just a flaw in their system. It's a fundamental requirement of their technology. They've sacrificed sustainability for power." The past week had transformed Earth's cities into alien landscapes. Archean structures rose like metallic forests, their surfaces constantly shifting and changing. They were beautiful in their way, but their beauty masked their true purpose: systematic control of human civilization. In the hidden laboratory deep beneath the Meridian Observatory, Olivia and Raj had worked tirelessly to understand the Archean technology. Their research had led them to an astonishing conclusion. The Archons aren't just using advanced technology, Raj explained during the Resistance's daily briefing. They're using technology that breaks the laws of physics as we understand them. But that violation comes at a cost. Lieutenant Valentinov, her cybernetic systems now enhanced with reverse-engineered Archean tech, displayed a holographic model of the alien energy network. Every structure they build, every piece of technology they deploy, increases the strain on their system. They're creating a massive quantum bubble around Earth, and bubbles can burst, Olivia added. If we can introduce enough quantum interference at key points in their network, we might be able to trigger a cascade failure. General Harrison, joining via secure link from the mobile command center, absorbed the information. "What do you need to make this happen?" "Access to their primary nodes," Raj replied. "The structures they've built in major cities, they're not just control centers. They're quantum anchors, stabilizing their entire network. If we can plant quantum disruption devices at enough of these points simultaneously, we can shatter their control over Earth's systems," Olivia finished. "But timing will be crucial. Once we start, we'll have minutes at most before they detect and try to counter our attack." Colonel Reeves studied the map of known Archean installations. "My teams can get your devices in place, but we'll need a distraction. Something big enough to draw their attention, but not so obvious that they suspect a coordinated attack." Lieutenant Valentinov stepped forward, her cybernetic eye glowing with intensity. "I think I know how we can do it. The Archons rely on quantum predictability. They analyze patterns in human behavior to maintain control. What if we give them patterns that make no sense?" The plan took shape over the next 48 hours. Resistance cells worldwide were activated, each given specific tasks that seemed random and unconnected. Some would stage small uprisings, others would appear to surrender and cooperate. The Archons would detect activity but would be unable to discern the true purpose behind it. Meanwhile, Dr. Blackwood and Dr. Patel worked to perfect their quantum disruption devices. Each one was smaller than a cellular phone, but contained enough computational power to challenge the fundamental principles of reality itself. "Remember," Olivia cautioned as she handed the devices to Colonel Reeves's team, "these aren't just weapons. They're keys to unlocking the flaw in their perfect system. The Archons built their empire on the assumption that they could control quantum reality itself. We're going to show them the danger of such hubris." As the resistance teams moved into position, a strange calm fell over the occupied Earth. The Archean structures continued their endless metamorphosis, their alien intelligence processing countless variables, analyzing patterns, predicting outcomes, But they had made one crucial mistake. In all their calculations, in all their perfect predictions, they had never accounted for humanity's greatest strength. The ability to defy expectations, to find hope in hopeless situations, to stand together against impossible odds. The pieces were in place. The next 24 hours would determine the fate of humanity. And in laboratories, bunkers, and hidden bases around the world, people prepared for what might be their last chance to reclaim their world. The countdown to humanity's greatest gambit had begun. Commander Victor Santos crouched in the shadow of a transformed skyscraper, its surface rippling with alien energy. His team of special operations soldiers moved like ghosts through the strange new landscape of what had once been Tokyo. Each carried one of Dr. Blackwood's quantum disruption devices, their mission critical to humanity's survival. "Echo team in position," he whispered into his modified communicator. Similar messages came in from resistance teams worldwide. London, New York, Moscow, Beijing. They would only get one chance at this. In the mobile command center, General Harrison monitored the global operation. Lieutenant Valentinov's cybernetic systems processed incoming data streams, tracking the movements of Archon patrols and defense systems. "The quantum interference pattern is ready," Dr. Blackwood's voice came through. She and Raj had worked until the last moment, perfecting the disruption sequence. "Remember, once we start, the Archons will detect the anomaly. Everything depends on simultaneous activation." Colonel Reeves's teams had spent days creating deliberate patterns of resistance activity, carefully calculated to draw Archon attention away from their true targets. Now those distractions would serve their final purpose. "All teams, prepare for Phase 1. Harrison commanded. Across the globe, resistance cells began their choreographed chaos. Small uprisings erupted in predetermined locations, each designed to seem uncoordinated, random. The Archon structures responded as predicted, their surfaces flowing like liquid metal as they redirected resources to contain these minor threats. Their quantum network hummed with increased activity, processing countless variables, analyzing patterns, predicting outcomes. But they couldn't predict what they couldn't comprehend. "Now," Santos whispered. His team moved forward, approaching the base of the massive Archon structure. Its surface writhed with complex patterns, unaware of the threat beneath its very foundation. Lieutenant Valentinov's enhanced systems detected the subtle changes in Archon communication patterns. They're responding to the diversions. Defense systems are shifting focus. We have our window. In cities around the world, resistance teams moved with precision born of desperate practice. The quantum disruption devices were planted at exactly calculated points, each one designed to exploit the inherent instability in the Archon network. 60 seconds to synchronization, Raj announced, monitoring the quantum harmonics from their hidden laboratory. The network strain is building exactly as predicted. The Archon Empire had built its power on absolute control of quantum reality, bending the laws of physics to their will. But in their pursuit of perfection, they had created a system that couldn't tolerate imperfection. 30 seconds, Olivia counted down. In the command center, Harrison watched as hundreds of points on the global map pulsed in unison, each representing a team in position, ready to strike at the heart of the alien empire. Santos checked his device one final time. The quantum calculations were beyond human comprehension, but the principle was simple. Introduce enough chaos into their perfect system, and watch it collapse. 10 seconds, Lieutenant Valentinov announced. The Archon structures continued their endless dance, unaware that their greatest weakness was about to be exposed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Activate, Harrison commanded. In that moment, humanity struck back. The quantum disruption devices activated simultaneously, sending waves of controlled chaos through the Archon network. The effect was immediate and devastating. The alien structures began to shudder, their flowing surfaces freezing in impossible patterns. The quantum bubble they had created around Earth started to fluctuate, its perfect harmony disrupted by carefully calculated interference. "It's working," Raj reported, his voice tense with concentration. The cascade effect is spreading faster than they can adapt. Their quantum network is destabilizing. But the Archean Empire hadn't conquered galaxies by being defenseless. As their systems began to fail, they launched a desperate counterattack. Waves of energy pulsed through their remaining network, attempting to isolate and destroy the sources of interference. Hold position. Santos ordered his team as the world around them began to warp and twist. The quantum battle being fought was beyond human perception, but its effects were all too visible. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, caught between humanity's desperate gambit and the dying throes of an empire that had never known defeat. The next few minutes would determine whether mankind would reclaim their world or be crushed by the full might of the Archean Empire. The sky above Earth had become a battlefield of quantum energies. The Archean Empire's perfect network was unraveling, their structures twisting into impossible shapes as they fought against the cascade of chaos humanity had unleashed. In the hidden laboratory, Olivia and Raj worked frantically to maintain the quantum interference pattern. Their system is trying to adapt, Raj reported, his fingers flying over holographic controls. They're attempting to isolate and purge the disruption points. Keep the pressure on, General Harrison commanded. All teams, maintain your positions. We cannot let them stabilize their network. Lieutenant Valentinov's cybernetic systems were overloading with the quantum feedback, but her enhanced perception provided crucial insight. They're not just fighting back, they're changing their entire operational paradigm. The Archean Collective is attempting to rewrite its own fundamental protocols. The truth became clear. The Empire wasn't just fighting for control of Earth. They were fighting for their very existence. The quantum instability was spreading through their network like a virus, threatening to destroy everything they had built across the galaxy. High above the planet, the massive Archean ships began to move, their perfect formation breaking apart as they tried to escape the growing chaos. But they were trapped by their own technology, bound to the quantum bubble they had created around Earth. Commander Santos and his team watched in awe as the alien structure before them started to crystallize, its fluid surface freezing into jagged patterns. The disruption is holding, he reported. Their control is weakening. Colonel Reeves's resistance fighters reported similar effects worldwide. The Archean structures were failing, their perfect symmetry shattered by humanity's desperate gambit. But the Empire had one final card to play. A new signal cut through the quantum chaos, broadcasting directly into every human communication device. The voice was no longer the collective Archean consciousness, but something else, something ancient and terrible. "I am High Archean Nexus," it declared. "You primitive beings dare to challenge the natural order. We brought perfection to 1,000 worlds. We will not be undone by creatures who barely understand the forces they tamper with." The remaining Archean systems surged with power, drawing energy from their dying network in one last attempt to crush Earth's resistance. The quantum disruption devices began to overload, their carefully calibrated frequencies pushed to their limits. "They're trying to force a quantum collapse," Olivia realized, horror in her voice. "If they can't have Earth, they'll destroy it, and themselves with it." But in their desperation, the Archons revealed their final weakness. Their perfect system, their absolute control over quantum reality, required harmony. By pushing their network to its extreme, they created even more instability. "This is it," Rad shouted. "The quantum harmonics are reaching critical levels. If we can't contain the collapse, we don't contain it." Olivia interrupted, sudden understanding in her eyes. "We redirect it. Lieutenant Valentinov, can your cybernetic systems still interface with their network?" "Barely," Kira responded, her enhanced eye glowing with strain. "What do you need?" "Upload this sequence," Olivia commanded, sending a stream of quantum calculations. "We're going to use their own power against them." The plan was insane, but it was their only chance. As the Archean network reached its breaking point, humanity's last defense wasn't technology or weapons. It was understanding. understanding that sometimes the greatest strength comes from accepting chaos rather than trying to control it. The quantum collapse began, but not as the archons had intended. Instead of destroying Earth, the energy was channeled back through their own network, amplified by the very disruption they had tried to overcome. "It's working," Santos reported, watching as the alien structure before him began to dissolve, not in destruction, but in transformation. The quantum energy was reshaping itself, finding a new equilibrium. Across the globe, the Archon Empire's perfect system crumbled. Their ships, their structures, their entire network collapsed into quantum uncertainty. But Earth, protected by the very imperfection of its technology, remained. In the aftermath, as the dust settled on a changed world, humanity began to understand what they had achieved. They hadn't just defeated an advanced alien empire. They had proved that perfection isn't always strength, and that sometimes the greatest power comes from embracing uncertainty. The Archon Empire had sought to impose their version of order on the universe. In the end, they were undone by a species that understood something they never could. That true resilience comes not from controlling chaos, but from learning to thrive within it. Earth was free, and humanity had learned a lesson that would guide them into a new era. The stars above were no longer just points of light. They were a reminder that in the vast chaos of space, adaptability and determination would always triumph over the illusion of perfect control.